The night is December 12th, 2024. You've managed to book a ticket to the most prestigious, honest award show currently within circulation. Less corrupt than the Oscars, the Emmys, and the Golden Globes. That's right, I'm of course talking about the Game Awards.
Isn't it sad we've gotten to that point?
I think I want to nominate this award to SpongeBob.
I mean, look, it isn't perfect. We all know that gamers don't actually have a say in what wins and what doesn't. The votes are used as a means of measuring popularity more than an actual ballot. We all saw that in 2020 when Neil Druckmann got his sloppy style for about an hour and a half. There's a balancing act in picking just enough good winners to keep the gamers satiated while also adhering to the demands of the bigwigs, shelling out cash for their AAA slop to win big. Recently, I feel like the TGA has been doing a decent job at giving awards to games that actually, deserve it. For instance, the last two Game of the Year winners prior to 2024, Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3, are monumental must-play games that'll no doubt inspire countless innovations within the gaming industry and deserve the pedestal they were put on. So it's a shame that Silent Hill 2 Remake was not on the ballot for 2024, but a fucking DLC was.
Look, I'm not gonna claim to be some veteran of the Silent Hill franchise because quite simply I'm not. All the people calling me a tourist for my opinions on anime would be totally justified calling me that for this IP in particular. However, I'd be a liar if I said Silent Hill 2 Remake by Blooper Team wasn't a fantastic game deserving of the overwhelming praise it gets. While I can't attest to its faithfulness due to not having played the original, as its own game, it's my favorite title of 2024, and a lot of people besides myself share that opinion. That's why when the nominees for 2024 were shown, people were understandably confused as to how games like Shadow of the Erdtree and Black Mid Wukong made the list, but Silent Hill 2 Remake was left in the dust.
But hey, it might not have made Game of the Year, but it was still nominated for numerous other categories, 5 to be exact. There's Best Narrative, Best Score, Best Audio Design, Best Performance, and Best Action Adventure Game. Surely it'll go home with at least one of those awards, right? Dramatic irony refers to the storytelling technique of when the reader knows something a character doesn't.
Silent Hill 2 was fucking wrong!
Not one little teensy tiny measly award? This is some serious AAA baloney. Now, listen, I'm not gonna knock any of the other games here too much, mainly just because I haven't played them. But there's no way it lost every single award it was nominated for legitimately, right? You're telling me it lost Best Audio Design to Hellblade 2?
What?
Hellblade 2?
Who the fuck is this nigga, bro?
They aren't even trying to hide the fact that the votes don't matter. No one voted for this game, and here, I can prove it. This is a picture of every single Hellblade fan standing in the same room. And that guy right there, he only played the first one. What I am trying to say is that Silent Hill 2 Remake should have gone home with at least a couple handy J's, in spite of whatever competition it may have been up against, because the game is simply that good. I've never played a psychological horror game that's captivated me as much as this game has. A game that keeps me coming back despite how much of a pussy bitch I am when it comes to scary stuff. Since Silent Hill 2 Remake didn't get its flowers that night, I felt compelled to make a video that glazes the ever-living hell out of it. What's happening? It's your boy Dity, and this ain't your daddy's video essay. This is Dity's Ditties, a show where I talk about pieces of media that I find interesting. It's good to be back, bitch!
An exasperated mad hat at bumpkin, the exaggerated swagger of a white 20-something. His belly full of alcoholic rum gin. Vodka, beer, whiskey, shake it out, no vomiting. But his glasses are the truth of the matter. He look in the mirror, all he do is get fatter. Attracted to his money like cheese to a cracker, make a
and foremost, this video will contain massive spoilers for Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill 2 Remake. However, these spoilers will be saved for the very end of the video to conserve as much viewer attention as possible. At that point, if you get spoiled, it's all on you. The second thing you should know is that the Game Awards will be used as a framework for the video's actual subject matter, Silent Hill 2 Remake. We'll be using the Game Awards categories as individual segments to talk about the game's many strengths, from its gameplay to its story. In other words, this video has very little to actually do with the Game Awards itself, and its only purpose in being here is for presentation and clickbait. One last thing before proceeding. This video in particular took a while to make. To help with its performance within the algorithm, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
And hey, if you don't do it for me, do it for Wally. Special feature. What's wrong, Wally?
Not enough people are engaging with commodities videos, so I don't have any money in me.
That's terrible.
And Commodity keeps spending all the money we do earn on shitty gacha games.
What the fuck are you talking about, Wally? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why the hell did you tell them that? Do you like doing that? Do you like making me look like an idiot? Do I look like an idiot to you? Huh? Why the hell do you keep treating me like I'm one? Without further ado, let's dive right in.
This year, the Game Award goes to Astrobot. Congratulations, another win tonight.
When Blooper Team first unveiled that they'd be changing the purposefully clunky fixed camera combat of the original Silent Hill 2 in favor of a more conventional free camera Resident Evil 2 remake-esque system, a lot of OG fans got a little pissy and red-faced about it. There's an argument to be made about how the wonky controls of the PS2 game brought with it a tighter and more intense gameplay experience that worked in tandem with the genre. The fact that you literally had to fight your own controller in combat made the game scarier as a result. I think the problem with this argument is that after playing the remake, I realized that you can have both a good feeling, satisfying to play control scheme and tense, scary combat. Silent Hill 2 Remake's combat system is deceptively simple, but once you really get into the groove of it, everything clicks and you realize just how good it actually is. Let's start with the elephant in the room.
How the fuck does he keep showing up?
The fixed camera transitioning to a more modern behind-the-back camera. Was this a good change? Well, to be honest, doesn't matter much to me if it was or it wasn't. Like I said, never played the original. So maybe there was some uber important, super clever and nuanced thing I'm missing that gets lost with the game's new direction. But honestly, I doubt it. If anything, I'd find it a little liberating that you can fully immerse yourself in these haunting and decrepit environments by viewing them from multiple different angles instead of just the one you're given. And as for its use in combat and gameplay, it just feels like quality of life more than anything else. Silent Hill 2 Remake's combat is stressful enough, especially on higher difficulties, so I think that a change like this was necessary.
Now, keep in mind, I'm not calling the game too hard. That's pussy shit. Let's be real here though, there's a difference between a game being fair and a game being bullshit.
I only really have one complaint with Silent Hill 2 Remake's combat, and it's not the camera. However, in a hypothetical world where they kept the fixed camera, I'd imagine if I died over 10 or so times from the game forcing a new angle on me every couple of seconds, I'd get more pissed off than scared. That would be stupid. For that reason, I think this was a good change. They take full advantage of the new camera work they're given, and I personally quite enjoy it. The real meat and potatoes of this game that keeps me coming back though is the actual combat system itself. Like previously mentioned, it's very easy to understand, but it's also very satisfying to master. On a first playthrough, it's just tight enough to make you feel like you're defenseless. Even on normal difficulty, I was getting the shit beat out of me by nurses and mannequins constantly. However, as I kept playing, both in the latter half of my first playthrough and my New Game Plus playthrough on hard difficulty, the same control scheme that I felt was working against me began to work with me. And soon, I was going through hordes of gimp-suited freaks like a knife spreading butter on toast.
Only steady watching me.
I have to cut the music because I'm gonna get copyright struck. I'm sure you get the picture.
When faced with an enemy, you've got 4 options. By hitting the right trigger, you can whack them with a wooden board or a metal pipe. By hitting left trigger, you can aim, then you can fire by pressing the right trigger again. By pressing circle or B, you can dodge, and then you've got the 4th option.
Run, nigga, run! Run, run, run!
I really like this setup. It's satisfying as hell to line up takedowns with a shot to the knee, then a 2x4 to the face. Dodging is admittedly a little botched sometimes, but we'll get into that later. It also took me a little bit to get used to L1 being your run button instead of something like R3, but I ended up preferring it so much by the end of my playthrough that I started accidentally trying to use it to try and run when going back and playing Resident Evil on stream.
Ariel, be getting cooked right now, bruh.
What is this nigga doing now?
Something else I really like is the crosshairs. At first, it's annoying how much it fluctuates in and out, making it feel impossible to hit your shots correctly. However, I ended up liking it a lot for 2 reasons. The first being James. James isn't trained with a gun. He's not a Leon Kennedy or a Joel Miller. He's a wimpy middle-aged salaryman. It makes sense that he sucks at shooting. The second being that it brings back that tightness that's constantly referenced in the fixed camera angles of the original game, without it feeling cheap. If you get spooked by a jump scare and you try to panic click your way out of it, it'll be your own fault when you run out of bullets. The only thing I really don't like about the combat in this game is that it has a serious case of magnet hands. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's just a term I made up for when you know for a fact you dodge an enemy's hit, but they gravitate towards you like a magnet and hit you anyways. Other games have this, and it's here too, and it's just as fucking annoying. This most often happens with the mannequins. They don't deal a whole lot of damage, so most of the time, it's not really a big deal, but this can seriously fuck you up on hard mode, where even small hits like theirs matter. The mannequins in general can honestly go fuck themselves. They're designed for you to pay close attention when you enter a room so you can spot them and take them out before they jump scare you, but oftentimes they're put in such cheap locations that you can't even do that. You enter a room and they'll be like right there ready to jump you. It's dookie butt.
The only thing I like about them is that they don't make the traditional jump scare noise when they pop out at you. It's very subdued and not ear-blastingly loud. I can only imagine how obnoxious that would get.
Hello? Anyone here?
Oh shit! The game is also really dark. No, not that kind of dark. That dark. During the final few hours of the game, I feel like it's a little too much. I get it, it's a horror game, and the unknown aspect of darkness is part of the fun. But god damn it, man, I like being able to see where the fuck I'm going. Nothing more to say in that regard, just thought it was worth mentioning because, man, I got so sick of being stuck in pitch black for like 50% of that penultimate dungeon. Enough complaining though. Why don't we end this segment on a high note and talk about one of the scariest aspects of this game's gameplay, that being... BOOM!
I thought the puzzles were pretty cool. On normal difficulty. One thing I'll give Blooper Team kudos for is that they actually thought to put difficulty sliders on both the combat and the puzzles, something I honestly haven't ever seen done before. That being said though, half the puzzles on hard mode are so up their own ass with their wording and complexity, and it's just not fun. The puzzles on normal mode are pretty great though. They provide just the amount of head scratching and aha moments that'll keep you trying to get the answer right instead of just giving up after an hour and Googling the answer. Is it a lot of code finding slop sometimes? Yeah, but there's other stuff here too. A particular favorite of mine is the music box puzzle from Lakeview Hotel. This one took me hours to beat. When I finally got it, I felt this huge satisfying weight lifted off my shoulders. Another one I like for its narrative significance is the coin box puzzle. I can't say why I like it for its narrative significance without going into spoilers, but if you know, you know.
Overall, I'm not sure why it was nominated for Best Action Game because it definitely doesn't present itself as some high-stakes action adventure. What I will say though is that its gameplay is certainly nothing to scoff at, and I could very easily see it winning this category had the nominee list been not as stacked. which is a staunch contrast to our next topic of discussion. Hey guys, so, I'm mid-edit, I'm editing, and I have just now come to the realization that my new dog's collar is constantly jingling throughout the recording, and I am too late in the editing process to cut it out or record new takes without it sounding weird. So I'll put up a little image every time it pops up, and it'll be like our little inside joke, okay? It'll be like our little secret, you know? Does that sound fun? All right.
And the game award goes to Final Fantasy.
To be completely honest with you guys, I have the least to say about the score and the music when compared to everything else, but that doesn't mean it isn't fantastic. The reason I don't have a lot to say is because, quite frankly, the music speaks for itself. That, and I'm just bad at articulating my thoughts on music, man, I don't know. I'd like to think that I have good taste in music and can accurately explain why I think the soundtrack is so good, but then again, I still listen to Kanye, and I'm a top 10% listener of Young Gravy, so maybe it'd be better if I call in someone more qualified to handle this for me. Oh, Anthony! Hi everyone, Dity here, internet's busiest music nerd. Today we're going to be having a look at the Silent Hill 2 remake soundtrack composed by Akira Yamaoka. Now, this record is notable for having a majority of the songs be complete remakes of the original game's soundtrack, with updated synths and way less compression, but just enough of that old gen flair to keep it feeling recognizable. Now, while I haven't played Silent Hill 2, I watched a 2-hour-long video essay that completely recaps the game's story while occasionally giving surface-level commentary, so I feel as though with that context in mind, I'm more than qualified to give my opinion on this little OST here. Now, I'd like to start this review off by listing a few adjectives that I can use to describe the feel of this record, just to give a broader scope of my overall thoughts right away before we dive deeper into this album proper. There's poignant, dreamlike, symphonic, discordant, ethereal, grunge-esque, high concept, textured, melodic, ambient, dissonant, melodious, savory, jungly, virtual. What you're listening to is my amateur cover of Promise, a famous song from both the original and the remake. I know it's not a live cover. Listen, I tried to learn it on piano, but I've been out of practice for so long, I'd have had to delay the video further, so don't complain. If you're someone who watched a lot of scare theater or even just scary content in general back in 2010s era YouTube, this song probably sounds very familiar to you. Iconic is a term that gets thrown out a lot nowadays, but the word is attached to the original game's soundtrack for good reason. Even not playing the original Silent Hill 2 myself, I can recognize various songs from the game as quick as a finger can snap, and I'm sure a lot of you can at home as well. Unless I'm missing something important, the remake is basically just using the old game's soundtrack with a fresh coat of paint and some new tracks to justify that $70 price tag. That's not a bad thing, but it does raise a small question. Does a remade soundtrack deserve to win the best soundtrack? Can an award be given for a soundtrack that's mostly composed of rewrites and ports? I suppose not. So why did Final Fantasy VII win? Money! Oh yeah! First and foremost, this game has some amazing ambient tracks. With the lucid and dreamlike world of Silent Hill, I'm glad the soundtrack strikes a home run with that empty feeling. There's lots of droning synths and dissonant chords. The song that plays when you first meet James in the bathroom, White Noise, is a fantastic example of this, but The Day of Night Shadows is too. They're both reverberated, jumbled, wet messes of songs, in a good way. They mimic what you'd hear if you'd leave the TV on when you fall asleep at night, or when you're half-conscious after smoking a fat doobie. I think the best track that represents this sort of delirious feeling is definitely Black Fairy, though. It's the song you often hear paired with that one stupid-ass picture of SpongeBob in the dark hallway, if you've ever seen that. I can't explain why this track works so well for the particular moment that it plays in the game without getting into spoilers, but if you know, you know. I suppose barring the context, I could still praise this track in particular for getting that hopelessness feeling down to a T. It's a scary song, feeling like the auditory equivalent of a headache. I love it. The piano in this game is fantastic. I'm a sucker for piano, man. It's such a sophisticated instrument. Check this shit out. Beethoven to be proud. Anyways, piano is one of the more clear sounding instruments from within the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack. They're the instruments in the OST that are the least often bogged down with choruses, flangers, and reverb. This, combined with the notes usually being played at a higher frequency, leads the piano to really pop out at you while listening when compared to the other background instruments. I think narratively, that's really cool, especially considering how significant pianos are to James and his wife, Mary. One of the only bits of character we ever get from James about his wife is that she liked to play the piano. I'd like to think as we, the players, are hearing the melancholic riffs in songs like Theme of Laura and Shadow of the Lover's Tree, it represents James thinking of his wife in lapses of consciousness. New songs like the aforementioned Shadow of the Lover's Tree and the 2024 rendition of Laura Plays the Piano are also fantastically produced, the latter having amazing leitmotif implementation and a great melody. The composition here is fantastic. You might have noticed a fancy German word back there, leitmotif. I'm sure most of you know what this means, but for the 12-year-olds watching, it basically means a repeated melody used multiple times in a story. Silent Hill 2 has a few of these. The most easily identifiable one can be found isolated in this Easter egg when first entering Lakeview Hotel. It's the main melody of the song Anam Cara, otherwise known by its original name, Magdalene, and this 7-note tune can be found littered throughout the game at various points. I think, recurring back to an aside I made earlier, this little ditty also represents Mary. It's a harsh, simple staccato melody, easily identifiable, hard to miss when you notice it. In that way, it's a staunch reminder of why James is in Silent Hill, almost like the notes themselves are constantly tapping on James's ear like, "Hey, think about your dead wife." You know?
Hi, I'm Commodity, and this is how to kill all dramatic tension in your video with unfunny bullshit.
I hope I still got my point across, though.
I think one of the few points of contention I've seen regarding this game's soundtrack, at least among my friends, is the more lively tracks, such as Beneath the Null Moon and Lament of Heaven's Night. Look, I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. These songs sound like something straight out of a 70s porno.
It gets bigger when I pull on it.
And some people might not think that they fit particularly well with Silent Hill's scary and sad atmosphere. Honestly though, I think they do. Not only do they fit Maria as a character who's meant to be this spitting image of seduction and temptation, but you'd know after looking at this game for more than a couple hours that one of its underlying themes is sexuality. James is a fucking freak. Having a break from the scary stuff is one of the most important aspects of a horror game. If it was just all scares all the time, not only would it make everything blend together, but it'd mean we'd always have our guards up. Anticipation leads to dread, and dread is 1,000 times better than knowing what to expect when it comes to getting scared. The game uses these sleazy, sexy sounding jazz beats to lure us into a false sense of security, all the while keeping to the game's message about James secretly being an absolute horn dog. Case in point, having a few moments of upbeatness in a game that has an otherwise slow and melancholic OST leads to those sad and scary moments being all the more memorable. I think for that reason, using the same logic but in reverse, I'm gonna put a jump scare somewhere in this video to make the funny moments in this video funnier. But I'm not gonna tell you where it is. The only thing... I'm about to blow. The only thing I'm not crazy about is the credit themes. I know, blasphemy. I don't know, I just feel like they're just way too happy sounding considering how close they are to a certain revelation that will not be detailed that happens towards the end of the story. If we want to talk about conflicting emotions, don't bring up the porno music tracks, bring up these. They're also just not my favorite songs sound-wise too. The only one I really like is Theme of Laura 2, and even then, that track has the same issues as the others where I feel like it's just too cheery. Like, damn, why the fuck is everyone smiling and happy all of a sudden? I just got done experiencing the horrors. That's such a minor nitpick in relation to everything else though. Silent Hill 2 Remake soundtrack is still amazing in spite of that, and would have been well deserving of an award if I didn't think it was kinda cheap to include as a nominee in the first place, due to it basically already existing prior to the Game Awards. I feel like if it was truly the players deciding who won and not the Game Awards oligarchs, Silent Hill 2 probably would have had it thanks to nostalgia bias. Again though, it's still an amazing soundtrack, not dissing it in the slightest. Akira Yamaoka, you cooked. Keep making bangers. As if he's gonna fucking see this. Melancholic, cacophonous, devoid of cheer, mournful. Yo, Mr. Anthony, I'm gonna shoot you in the knees. Why'd you give my album a 7? I'm gonna send you to heaven.
And the Game Award for audio design goes to Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. Congratulations, Ninja Theory.
Hi everyone. I thought it'd be fitting if I did the entire audio design segment with an ASMR voice. I also have with me this 3-piece chicken combo meal from Bojangles that comes with 2 sides and a drink for only $10.59 including taxes. So let's dive right in.
Why you eat pussy like that? Hey, did you take your insulin?
What? This award is the most egregious snub of them all. Silent Hill 2 Remake sound design is simply incredible and should have gone home with gold, bar none. Now, saying that, have I actually sat down and played any of the other games? No. I fucking hate Hellblade 2. Silent Hill 2 Remake's audio design is just that good. It's so good that I feel like even if I did play the other games, either it dwarfed them with its superiority or I'd be so biased in its favor that I'd be unable to tell the difference. I feel like horror games have a sort of unfair advantage when it comes to this category. Chances are, when you're playing another game genre, you're probably not thinking, wow, the sound of that gun was really crisp, or anything stupid like that. In the silence of a tense world, things like the click of your gun as you pull back the slide, or the cries of a spooky monster stand out way more than usual. While that makes it easier to become biased and put Silent Hill 2 Remake's sound design above the competition, I still think it earns the #1 spot in my heart, because in spite of it being kind of an easy slam dunk, the game takes full advantage of being a horror game to give us some amazing, ear-twitchingly great sounds. So where do I even start with this? How do you begin to describe how well a game uses sound? I guess we'll just start small.
Like my penis.
All the little things like James's footsteps and the movement on his clothes, the ticks and clicks of your guns, the satisfying wham heard when you whack an enemy, it's all satisfying as hell. Not much more to say there. Distortion and overdrive are tools that are used a lot in this game's audio design to great effect. Every grunt and cry from mannequins, nurses, and lying figures sound like they were plugged straight into a guitar amp. I noticed that Pyramid Head's footsteps also have this effect on them, likely as a reference to how crunchy they sounded in the PS2 game. Maybe. Again, haven't played it. Speaking of the monsters though, one of my favorite aspects of the sound from a gameplay perspective is that their grunts act as a tell for when you can perform takedowns. The first time I noticed this was with the mannequins. I shot them in the knee, they'd bend down, and they'd emit this sound that sort of sounded like if you shook a skeleton really hard. This is insanely cool, and you're gonna need to learn to identify these sounds as you play if you want to play on hard mode. Because trust me, if you waste bullets in this game, you will get absolutely shaboinged. Fear of getting royally fucked on low health is heightened with the game's radio. For those unaware, James gets a radio at the beginning of the game. This radio will buzz and chirp with static when enemies are nearby. While you'd think this would eliminate all tension by telling you, hey dickface, there's an enemy over there, you'd be surprised that it nearly does the exact opposite. Often, the radio will begin to chime when it's not clear where the enemy is. They could be a few feet away or a few rooms away. Sometimes it plays right before having to walk through some narrow crawl space or a crevice in the wall, with you, the player, not knowing what the layout of the room beyond looks like. Is it cramped? Is it spacious? Will I have enough room to fight? Is it dark? Just how many enemies are there? You don't know. All you know is that there's something there.
In other words, it's not being alone in the dark that scares you. It's not being alone in the dark that scares you.
Oh my god, did you come up with that yourself?
Maybe?
This builds up anticipation, and it's damn good at doing it. In addition, this radio doesn't work on hiding mannequins, which means you need to be on edge regardless for them. It's kind of fucked up that the game presents you with something early on that you think you can trust, only for that trust to be betrayed when these little hell spawns are introduced. Fuck mannequins. All my homies hate mannequins. Speaking of mannequins and enemies in general, this game has a lot of squelching. Yes, moist, squishy, and gross squelching. What is squelching? Well, according to Google, it's a soft, sucking sound made when pressure is applied to liquid. And yup, this game sure has a lot of that in spades. And it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up every time I hear it, like ASMR, but fucked up. It doesn't help that the enemies squelching and the environment squelching nearly sound identical. There's bubbling in toilets, there's a fleshy squish when you grab something in a wall, there's a fleshy squish when you grab something in bubbling water and also get poo on your arm. Yeah, this game is actually just kind of disgusting, not gonna lie, in a good way. Hey, since we're on the topic of being disgusting, let's talk about this disgusting world, and more specifically, its ambiance. Silent Hill's ambiance is by far its best attribute. Nothing does lulling you into the world quite like this game does, and that can partially be attributed to the myriad of different sounds played all around you while you play. Think of the whistling winds as you walk along a long dirt trail, a distorted tape recording playing loudly as you explore a dark hospital, a phone ringing somewhere but you can't quite find it. Finally, the quiet arriving when you'd least expect it.
Pussy, 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 marijuana, wanna.
If I were to list all the examples of the game's general sound design, we'd be here all day. So I'll pinch it off here in favor of talking about one of my last favorite bits involving this game's use of audio design. That being...
vibration! Does this count? Okay, look, this is pushing it, but technically, if you really boil down sound into its bare essentials, I mean, it is just a series of vibrations, right? No. Okay, so anyway, I really like the rumbling in this game. So for reference, this is my controller. It's a normal basic bitch Xbox controller, no HD rumble like the Switch Pro controller or anything like that. In spite of that, this game does some amazing things with its rumble that I didn't think were possible, like mainly just because no other games really utilize it all that well, but still, at any moment it could mimic the rhythm of a generator's gears turning, a heartbeat when you're injured, or whatever the fuck it's supposed to be when your game is saving.
Whoa, 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 hey, hey!
What I'm ultimately trying to say without all the artsy-fartsy messaging is that Silent Hill 2 Remake's use of sound is insanely good. It adds a whole new layer of atmosphere to one of the most atmospheric games of all time. I can't think of a genuinely good reason it shouldn't have walked home that night without an award, but alas, it didn't. You might be wondering what I'm doing in a car right now.
Well, all this talk of the game's atmosphere reminded me of something. Did you guys know Silent Hill was partially inspired by a town here in Pennsylvania? Yeah, my state's history is actually coming up in a video for once. So basically, there was this town called Centralia that used to be one of the biggest coal mining towns in PA. One day, I don't really know what happened, but the whole mine's basically just caught on fire, just up in flames, right? Ever since then, there's been so much coal down there that the fire just never went out. And now, if you go there, you'll sometimes get a glimpse of the smoke coming up from the cracks in the ground. Back in the day though, the smoke was all you'd see there, and it's rumored that this smoky little town is what originally inspired the foggy look of Silent Hill.
Case in point, I'm going there to see if I can get some bobblehead nurse pussy. really see anything.
Hey, hot stuff.
Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with more commodity.
Might be best if you just get out of here.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, you want to come with? Maybe together we can find a way out of this town.
That sounds like a great idea, Eddie.
Oh, you didn't seem like you were gonna agree right away.
Yeah, listen, I came here for my wife, but she's probably dead anyway. There's a bunch of monsters and shit around here. Let's just go.
What the hell was that? And why was it sexy?
I don't know. They're monsters. They just kind of show up.
Did they always look like that for you?
Yeah, basically. Wait, what did you mean? Do they look different to you?
Tell him the truth, Eddie.
I can't.
Why not?
I just can't!
Whoa, Eddie, calm down. What's wrong?
Nothing, James.
Eat us.
No! Eat us!
Consume us. I want to be inside you, Eddie.
That's so gay!
Enjoying the video? Here's your engagement check. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to support this channel and give commodity money to pay for insulin.
But why do I need to do all that? Isn't my view enough?
Viewing alone is great, but doing these 4 things pushes this video in YouTube's algorithm. And if you made it this far, here's this video's prompt of the day.
Comment something that you liked about Silent Hill 2.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your watch.
If you've gotten this far in the video, that means you've entered spoiler territory. From this point forward, I'm going full no filter, mask off. If you don't want to have this amazing game ruined for you, here's your chance to bounce. I guess for some of you watching, this means that this is the end of the video.
And the winner is Melinda Juergens.
If you hadn't heard of Luke Roberts prior to him getting the role of James Sunderland, I wouldn't blame you. The guy wasn't exactly known for much. He was the star on some show called Ransom, which I didn't even know existed. He was also Thomas Wayne in The Batman and a minor character in Black Sails, which is also apparently pretty good, but this is the type of shit I'd walk in on my parents watching and never think about again.
Point is, while he was successful, I don't think he's ever had quite the slam dunk like he made here. Luke fucking killed it as James, and is by far one of the best parts of the game, period. James's voice actor in the original Silent Hill 2 was...
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Interesting. Some people are really into that disassociative feel that comes with the performances in the original game, but personally, when watching the cutscenes on YouTube like the filthy plebeian that I am, I found it really hard to get invested like I did while playing the remake. Don't get me wrong, the writing and dialogue itself is still brilliant, but could you imagine watching this video and everything was the same except I sounded like this? I'm quite fond of oiled up black men twerking butt booty naked. James feels so real in this version, from his inflections to his mannerisms to his movements and beyond. At the beginning of the story, this works really well at attaching you to him. He's your regular everyman vessel in an irregular world. As James's mask slowly starts to crack, however, it makes his dissolve into madness all the more surreal. Everyone else already had a sort of off vibe about them, like you couldn't really trust them. They all talked like they were in a state of delirium, but not James. James was just a normal guy, or so we, the audience, thought. That's what makes the reveal that he was just as crazy as everyone else all the more jarring. What surprised me the most on a replay, however, was seeing just how much of James's true self was foreshadowed in this nice guy persona he put up. James's behavior towards Eddie, Angela, and Laura can at first seem extremely reasonable. He acts like how anybody would. A woman's in distress, help her calm down. A man proclaims his innocence? Believe him. Is your wife annoying you?
Kill the bitch!
With the added context of the ending though, looking back on these cutscenes, a lot of things about James rear their ugly head. He pities people, a lot actually. He thinks he's above them in some aspects, like Eddie. If you think about it, Eddie and James are very similar. Both of them are running away from the truth regarding someone they murdered. Eddie is a bad man and he knows it. Silent Hill is nothing but a place for him to hide in. James is a bad man, but he's in denial about it. He still thinks he's superior to Eddie, and you can see that in cutscenes like this one.
Eddie? Oh. You're,
James, we met back at the apartment building.
Yeah, I remember.
I see that you didn't make it out yet.
Yeah. I just didn't get around to it yet.
At least you got your appetite back.
You got something you want to say about us fatties, James? Huh? You think this is funny to you? This is my moneymaker. This kind of I'm better than you attitude is heightened with subtlety. Subtlety that Luke Roberts manages to nail on the head. If it had more of a commanding tone, I feel like new gamers would have caught on that maybe there was something more to James than initially presented. It's the kind of offhand comment you'd hear a coworker say to you and think, hey, that was kinda mean, what the hell? Eddie's not the only one James treats like this though. Angela debatably has it worse. There's something inherently misogynistic about James, not in a traditional, hey bitch, give me another beer sense, but in a women are weak and I must protect them as the alpha kind of way. This likely stems from how he felt watching his wife die. I can imagine seeing Angela in such a distressed state during the first cutscene with the knife, triggering something in James's head relating to that. James treats Angela with kindness and respect until this happens.
We're all the same.
I'm not like you.
They not like us.
Notice that? Notice that I'm better than you attitude resurfacing? The mere insinuation that James is just like everyone in Silent Hill offends him. He's not running. Why would he be running? That's stupid. You're stupid, Angela. Take it back. Now. Okay. Damn. Another scene I really enjoy that delves into James's relationship with women is the bar scene with Maria. James has a very seedy relationship with temptation. He's constantly tempted by the thought of an affair while his wife is hospitalized, and we could see that with sexuality being a big part in his version of Silent Hill. James, for lack of a better way of putting it, is pent up. He can't have sex with his wife while she's sick in bed dying, and the thought of cheating is starting to get to him. Debatably, it probably plays a large part in why he chooses to murder her. He wants to be free from the title of being a married man. Maria, as the personification of James's desires, plays into this freedom when offering James an alcoholic drink to share. I think this alcohol is supposed to represent indulgence. Watch the clip for yourself and see if you can get what I mean.
You sure? Fine. Be that way. Here's to hope undying.
I really like this scene's direction. For half of it, you don't even see James's face. You either see his backside or his hands, yet in spite of that, you know exactly what he's thinking. One drink wouldn't hurt, he says, as his hand slowly coasts to the glass, but then repels backwards after thinking about Mary. It's a tense scene as a first-time viewer. Is he going to take the plunge and join this strange new woman for a casual drink? It can't hurt, right? But what about his wife? Isn't she still alive? Would that be wrong? James is kind of a pussy. It's not that he isn't brave. I mean, I think anyone else in his shoes would probably go through a couple pairs of pants along their journey, more so in the way he acts. I love this. Rather than being a hardened badass, James feels realistically heroic. Heroic in the sense that he's defying fear, not actually being, good. When he swings his weapon, you feel it, and I mean really feel it. His grunts, screams, and yelps are all visceral and barbaric.
When he reaches into a disgusting hole in the wall, you can see on his face just how uncomfortable he is.
I forgot to put a good transition here.
I love the juxtaposition of how James acts in gameplay versus how he acts in cutscenes. In cutscenes, you can hear him trying to keep himself composed with a more deeper voice and tone, kind of like I do in my videos, but that deepness is lost completely when he's facing the horrors of Silent Hill by himself. It's like he lets a little bit of his true self out, and that true self is far from the stoic traditional salaryman he tries to paint himself as. Case in point, I like hearing men moan. All of this pales in comparison to the high point of Luke Roberts' performance as James, that being his acting in the Stillness ending. The Stillness ending is extremely similar to the In Water ending, which was what I got on my first playthrough. The only real difference being that instead of talking to himself alone in his car, he talks to a hallucination of Mary. Everything about this performance is great, from the subtle raise of his eyebrows upon hearing his wife's voice again, to him finally breaking down after being put through hell and fully realizing what he's done. After all Silent Hill put him through, all it took was hearing his wife's voice again to make James break. Speaking of James breaking down, I'd be remiss not to mention Luke Roberts' second best highlight of this game, the cutscene just before the Twin Pyramid Head boss fight. Good lord, that scream was something else. After this whole journey, finally, here and now, we get to see that composure I talked about fully destroyed. With the truth unveiled, James is now ready to take on the guilty truth that the Pyramid Heads symbolize, starting the fight with his only moment of true, genuine badassery. I'm ready. I'm pretty sure that line got me pregnant.
Are you sure you're not just fat?
No! These few scenes I talked about today should have manifested a trophy for Luke Roberts. Instead, he walked home empty-handed. Quite frankly, I think this is an outrage. This was a fantastic performance, and Luke Roberts should feel proud of the work he's done. Whoever beat him in this category must have had some real acting chops, and I don't say that lightly. Who the hell beat him? Hellblade 2? Are you
And the Game Award goes to Metaphor.
So, here we are at the end. The final robbed category. The one everyone watching was likely waiting for. Silent Hill 2 Remake's story. What did I think of it? Was it amazing? Was it captivating? Did it deserve to win? Well, kinda. Let me explain. I did think this story was fantastic, but honestly, this category might have been the most justified decision out of the bunch. First of all, it's a remake of a game made over 20 years ago. Its story is recycled, and while yes, Blooper Team did some changes to it, overall, it's basically the same. I don't think an award meant for this year should be given to a game that had all the hard work done decades ago. Secondly, and I'm just going on hearsay here since I haven't played it, like with every other fucking game at the awards, Jesus Christ, I need to buy more games. I heard Metaphor, the winner of that night, had an amazing story. You know, according to the people who had over 100 hours to spare to actually finish the damn thing. I mean, I guess I'll trust them. The point I'm trying to make here is that even though Silent Hill 2 Remake's story is fantastic, I would have been okay with it going home empty-handed for this award in particular. With that being said, oh my god!
Skit, why don't you just kill yourself?
I'm dying.
This is the greatest psychological horror story ever made. With that branding in mind, I feel as though I need to set some expectations. For one, there's a billion other video essays on this site right now that can probably explain all the nuances and intricacies of this modern day epic way, way better than I can. And would it really be all that interesting for me to just spew out the same old shit you've heard from other people 1,000 times over?
Yes.
No. We do things fresh here. I'll be detailing what I personally found interesting about the game's story and things that stood out to me. If you find me not mentioning something in particular, it was probably a deliberate choice on my part. That being said, if you want to glaze the game's story yourself after watching and call me an idiot for leaving out the best part of the game or whatever, the comment section is right there. Wink wink, nudge nudge. This also means I'm not going to be one of those guys who recaps the entirety of the game's story spoon-fed to you. This video is long enough and I've got deadlines to make, so we're going fast and loose here. Alright, with all that out of the way, the UFO cutscene is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. Like, just look at it. Like, what the fuck is that? The town of Silent Hill is one of the most captivating settings in video game history. Now, after experiencing this game for the first time, I understand why. Everyone in this game goes to Silent Hill for different reasons, but there's one thing that unites them. They're hiding from themselves. James hides from the truth that he killed his wife. Angela hides from the truth that her mother is just as rotten as her father was. And Eddie is hiding from the cops after becoming a murderer. In spite of coming to the town to potentially better themselves, they leave just as scarred and broken as when they came in, only now with a better understanding as to why. Truth isn't always a good thing, and while there's an argument to be made about how standing in front of a mirror is the first step to self-improvement, Silent Hill 2 proves that redemption isn't for everyone, and reality heavily differs from fiction. All too often, I see stories that are emblematic of the idea that truth is important above all, but what rarely gets explored is how destructive it can be. Some people don't want to be saved. Some people can't be saved. Some people can't outrun what they've done. Yet even with this, some people still continue forward. The aforementioned stillness ending is the closest thing to a canon ending I think we'll ever get. Sure, there are happier endings like the Leave ending and the Bliss ending, but the stillness ending is the most true to James's character. All throughout the game, we see James go from nightmare to nightmare, situation to situation that would stump most men in their tracks and hold them in place. Not James, though. For as much of a normal man as he presents himself to be, he is truly exemplary in one aspect: his bravery. This bravery comes from his want to be with Mary again, his regret, his pain, his guilt. The town of Silent Hill is a metaphor for his life, as it is with everyone who enters. He's weighed down by peril and turmoil, thoughts of his wife lying stricken down in a hospital bed with only her legs visible, thoughts of temptation, the idea popping into his mind of being unfaithful while his wife remains bedridden. These thoughts are manifested into the monsters we see as we journey through this town from hell. Yet, as scary as the town is, it's only holding a mirror to the character's own reality. That's why Laura, who has nothing to grieve or fret over, can go through the town freely. She has nothing to fear. She has nothing to run from. In the stillness ending, we get a glimpse into something truly real. It's like we're sitting in the passenger seat watching something we shouldn't. A man at his worst, fully reflecting on the life he's lived and the horrors that have come with it. Why do people continue to live in spite of everything? In spite of the pain and misery that comes with it? What separates this James from the James we see in the Water ending, where he takes his own life by driving into a lake? Something I've neglected to mention up until this point is that the stillness ending can only be achieved in New Game Plus, meaning you have to have played through this game twice in order to get it. All throughout the game, you find these collectibles called memories. They're callbacks to the original Silent Hill 2, basically just being nothing more than little Easter eggs. However, narratively, some people think they hold a more significant purpose. With the new endings found in New Game Plus, there's been an idea put forward about the game taking place in a continuous loop, a constant cycle of pain and misery. James canonically goes through one playthrough to the next, constantly cycling through different iterations of the same town, experiencing thoughts of killing himself one playthrough, but an eternity with his wife the next. The loop isn't meant to be a fourth wall breaking meta commentary or anything like that. It's meant to represent James's reflection and his path to eventual begrudging acceptance. James going to Silent Hill physically is a finite event, but mentally he will always be trapped there. He will always be haunted by what he's done, and he will always be thinking of ways his life could have gone better. Perhaps it's this reason why James continues to live. To hope, undying. Perhaps the real Mary is breaking the cycle, and James is constantly fighting within himself to do that. Maybe all of us have a Mary in our lives, and maybe some of us don't. Silent Hill 2 doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't tell you how to feel about things or spell the message out plainly. In many ways, what it does say can often be interpreted as nihilistic or unreasonably cruel, but so is the world. And just like the world, Silent Hill is a beautiful mess of a story. Not mess in that it's poorly written, but that it's deliberately hard to quantify and interpret. For as many of you watching that think James was a bad person, there will be just as many of you that think that James was a good person. Just like how we assign meaning to frivolous things in our everyday lives, so too can we assign importance to the small things in this story most people wouldn't think about. It's in this way we end up here, with a story that can mean different things for different people. Maybe to you, it's a story about grief and suffering, how a man continues to live in spite of how shit everything is. Maybe it's about truth and how it's not always a good thing. Maybe it's about hope. Maybe it's about redemption. Maybe it's about nothing or a combination of these things. There is one blatant thing about Silent Hill that I think remains true among all interpretations, though. Reality is scarier than fiction.
I need a beer. So, what did we learn today? Something about truth, aliens, dogs? Hang on, I gotta think of a way I can work this into my Game Awards narrative. Maybe something like, don't believe everything you see. Oftentimes, things at the top aren't the best. Jeff Keighley was angry at Konami since they prevented him from seeing Kojima get an award in 2015. I don't know, man, there's tons of things you could take away from this, but ultimately, I hope you take away this. Silent Hill 2 was robbed. It's a fantastic game with fantastic characters, great gameplay, outstanding music, haunting sound design, top tier acting, and of course, a generational story. In some ways, I regret not having played the original sooner, but at the same time, I can't say I'm not thankful that I got to go through this journey with you all using the remake's fresh coat of paint and modern enhancements. Maybe if this video does well enough, I can take a look at the first game all the way back on the PS1. If, of course, I can ever find a PS1 and a copy of the game for cheap, because as we all know, piracy is wrong, right? That was not a wink. As usual, have yourself a damn good one, and I'll see you next week. Does the board look different to you guys? Now that's scary.
Bitch, and you know we run the city, bitch. How much I gotta pay for a titty pic?
Got motherfucking damn commodity. Guess what? Chester Stone finna get a crib soon, dude.
Hi,
God
Chester
is good
Stone.
all the
Can
time.
you say subscribe
And I got
to
a
the
girlfriend named Stella. Look.
Why aren't you saying it? I'm paying you to say subscribe to Commodity. Why?
Hey, what's up? So, it is nearly midnight here. I'm on a Diet Coke binge right now. And I just realized that the video has not cracked an hour. And I heard it does better if it cracks an hour in the algorithm. And I need this video to revive my dead, dying channel. So I'm gonna rank the Silent Hill 2 cast based on how well they can do the Thug Shaker. Alright. So I think I'm gonna put James. He's got a pretty flat ass. I'm gonna put him in C tier. Maria, I feel like, okay, so she was a stripper, I think. Like canonically, so I'm gonna throw her in S tier. Amazing thug shake. Next up, we got Eddie. I feel like Eddie has mass, but I feel like he doesn't have form. I'm gonna throw him in A tier. Eddie.
Alright. Next up, we got... Oh, f***. The next character is either going to be a child or an SA victim. I think this is actually a terrible idea. Fuck, what else can I rank them on? How good they are at Mario Kart. S tier Eddie. I didn't think this through very well, did I? Can I go now?